All right, thank you for coming for this very important bill, press conference in support of bill number 180066R. Most importantly, trying to create a statewide minimum wage of $15. We have a resolution coming tonight on the council, and I'm going to open it up for Mary Pat Clark to introduce who we have behind us. Yeah.
You can introduce the mayor and the president, and I'll just do the council member.
Okay. I'd like to thank Mayor Pugh and Council President Young for joining us today, as well as my colleagues who Mary Pat will be introducing. Councilman Burnett, representing District 8 and in full support of the bill and requesting state action to raise the minimum wage. And Mary Pat's going to take it from here.
Okay. Thank you. Let me acknowledge our colleagues who have gathered here with us, as they have so many times, in support of this effort. Council members, Shannon Sneed, there you are, Robert Stokes, Leon Pinkett, Bill Henry, Eric Costello, John Bullock, Ryan Dorsey, and Ed Reisinger wanted us to know that he's at a meeting, but he will be rushing down the stairs. And Zeke Cohen has joined us too. I'll just do my thing. Okay. It's a great honor and pleasure to be here today in the good company of our mayor, the president of the Baltimore City Council, and Ricara Jones, who has been leading the statewide effort, because this is a statewide bill that we have got to win. And here we are joined by, yeah, Councilman Scott. See what I mean? It happened to me.
It happened to the best of us.
Brandon Scott. The time is really now, and we are so glad to be joined together here in city government to promote $15 by 2023 statewide. These bills were introduced at the very end of January in the General Assembly. We already have Montgomery and Prince George's and DC neighbors who have $15 bills and laws in place. This will help to cover the entire rest of the state of Maryland in this state election year. And that's one of the reasons it's a great opportunity. One of the reasons it's urgent is that we all live under the current state minimum wage. And it has grown steadily, but it is about to come to a stop without further action by the General Assembly. On July 1, 2018, this year, it will go up to 1010, which is appropriate, but it will never go anyplace more again. That 1010 has no cost of living built into it. That 1010 is the last number on the dotted line. So it will stay 1010 until we're 1010, unless the state takes action, which is why this bill has been introduced and why we have such support gathered around us. Special thanks to to the mayor and president and the other council members here who have all come together in support, not just at this press conference, not just for this resolution, but also for many, many of us working in the halls of Annapolis, talking with our state representatives to say this is the hour. The hour has come for Maryland. So I want to thank you very much, and especially to thank my colleague here, Chris Burnett, Councilman Burnett. He's a great partner in this effort. He was a great partner last year when we worked in Annapolis as well as locally. One of our new members who has proven his diligence and his efforts to make life better for Baltimore. And that's what it's really all about. Most of all, I thank our families, our working poor families, who have waited so patiently for us to come to success. And statewide looks like our best chance yet. Thank you. Chris.
Right. Thank you. So I'll just say a few words. as a representative of District 8 in West Baltimore, I can't speak to how important this legislation is to working families in my district. Too often people struggle to keep the lights on, to pay water bills, to stay in their homes, and they work 2 or 3 jobs. So we're talking about people who are trying to keep food on the table, people who are trying to support their families and going to work hard every single day here in Baltimore City and across the state of Maryland. And so this issue is one that not only impacts West Baltimore, but the entire state. And we have to get behind it. When we talk about issues of violence as well, it's a critical piece of the puzzle. I've talked to men and women who work on the front lines. I've talked to people who live that lifestyle. And it's clear that economics is a huge part of the equation when we talk about making our streets safer. It's not the only issue, because these things are comprehensive, right? We talk about lead paint, we talk about education, we talk about schools and workforce development. All of these things are a very important piece of the puzzle, but so is a livable wage. And so I'm in full support of this legislation. I'm thankful for the amount of support we have on the council, and I believe we can get it done. I think this is the year that the General Assembly does the right thing, raises the wage to $15, and the most important piece about this legislation is it does have a cost of living increase, so that when water goes up, when milk goes up, when rent goes up, so will people's pay. So I think we can get it done. I'm thankful for Delegates Heddleman and Senator Madaleno for their introduction on the House and the Senate, and we're going to keep fighting. And so with that, I would like to introduce our esteemed Mayor Pugh to say a few words as well about this important bill. Thank you.
First, let me say thank you, Mary Pat Clark. Thank you, Councilman Burnett. And I think this is very appropriate. We talked about this last year. I was in Annapolis in 2014 when we raised the minimum wage from $7.25 to $8.75. Last year, we raised it to $9.05, and it goes up July the 1st to $10.10. Just as you said, this is a march, a fight towards 15, and by 2023, that's what we would like to see. And let me just say, the reason this is important is because Baltimore is not separated by water and bridges. We're separated by imaginary lines in the street. And so it is important that all of the jurisdictions that surround Baltimore City understand the need to do this. And so we asked the General Assembly to look very closely at this particular piece of legislation, because it is about raising the wage so that people can live decent lives. And let me also say that when we talk about all the corporate tax cuts that are taking place right now, it is very appropriate that we take a look at this particular piece of legislation. And so we think that this is the right thing to do in the state of Maryland, and we call on our General Assembly to take this very seriously and to recognize that corporate tax cuts are great for companies and corporations, but so are raising wages for our citizens. Amen. So we're talking about moving from now to 2023 to $15 an hour wage. And as Mary Pat Clark said, this is the last year that you will see the increase that the 2014 General Assembly put in place. We went from $7.25 again to $7.25 to $8.75 to $9.05. We will raise it again to $10.10, but it stops there. So General Assembly, we're asking you to take a very close look at this and understand the need to equalize raises across the board, and understand that the corporate structure should not be the only ones who benefit from corporate cuts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pugh. Up next, I would like to introduce City Council President Bernard Jack Young.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. First of all, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Clark and Councilman Burnett for this resolution calling on the state to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. The mayor couldn't have said it no better. The corporations get their tax breaks, but the employees get no break. So we need to make sure that we all are unified and united and go down to Annapolis as a full delegation of council people and let our state representatives know that we want $15 for our workers. Chris Burnett echoed, he made a comment about talking to people in his district. Well, I talk to people all over the city that's barely making it on the wages that they're making, working 2 and 3 jobs. That has to stop. If we can stop parents from working 2 and 3 jobs, maybe we can have parents home to tend to the kids to keep them out of the problems that they're causing around the city of Baltimore. So this is another tool in the toolbox for our state legislators to clearly understand that $15 really isn't where it should be, because it should be more than 15. Because when I add up $15, it comes to about $31,200. Who can raise a family of four on that kind of a salary? And we're not talking about $15 tomorrow or the next day. We're talking 5 years from now. So if businesses cannot figure out how to get to $15 in 5 years, then something wrong with their business practice. So let's go for 15.
All right.
All right. One of the fiercest advocates before us on this issue, been working hard statewide. I would like to introduce Ricara Jones from the Fight for 15 Coalition and SEIU 1199.
I'm here today. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again. I'm really excited that Mayor Pugh, City Council President Young, and the Baltimore City Council is announcing their support for the Maryland Fight for 15 statewide campaign. You've heard all the reasons, why this is important, but we are facing some of the highest costs of living in the nation. And workers throughout Maryland need to earn $15 today. You heard President Young just say it, but you need $15 today, not in 5 years, to be able to afford basic needs like housing, transportation, health care, food, and child care. And our research shows us that 573,000 workers across the state would directly benefit if we increase wages to $15 an hour. And although this helps workers across the board, it specifically helps women and workers of color. In Baltimore City, there are 80,000 workers that would benefit from raising wages. It would put about $300,000 a year into the hands of workers who are going to spend it at local businesses right here in the city, which is a win for businesses, it's a win for the economy, and it's a win for workers. Today, again, I'm glad that the leaders in Baltimore City are continuing to stand with workers over profits and big corporations and realize that the way that we change our city is by investing in our workers. We can't solve new problems with old techniques, but we can improve life expectancy, health outcomes, graduation rates, and reduce the number of people who are working full-time but still relying on public assistance by raising wages. So again, our workers have waited too long to receive the wages that they not only need, but they truly deserve. And this year, we're going to get it done. So we're going to see everybody in Annapolis on the 20th. That's when we're going to need everybody to testify in support of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right. I'd like to open it up to any of my colleagues who want to say a few words.
No, you're good. You
The
said
board.
everything needed to be said.
Perfect. All right. Any questions?
Okay.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
have a question, yeah, so,
Well, Jesse.
minimum wage in Virginia and Pennsylvania is $7.25, I believe. Won't opponents of this bill cite the mayor's veto on the grounds that jobs will just leave the city? Isn't the argument jobs will just leave the state and go to where the minimum wage is cheap?
Well, first of all, let's be real clear. We're talking about a 5-year period, and I think that's the misnomer. If we don't raise it, the federal government is eventually going to raise it anyway. And so we've got to be real about this. We're talking about a 5-year period marching toward $15 an hour. And as you heard SEIU say, some folks really do deserve to make it today. But we're not worried about people crossing the line. We're worried about what happens in our own state. This is one of the richest states in America, and that's real. And so we're saying corporate tax cuts are giving corporations and companies wonderful breaks. And so we're saying that the people in our state deserve to be compensated properly. We know that utility bills are going down. We know that all kinds of incentives are being put out there by companies and corporations. And all we're saying is don't forget the little guy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right. Thank you.